The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it Mondays here. It's Hail Varsity Radio and Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel with you. Numbers to dial up. It is Michigan week. I'm maybe a little too excited for that on a Monday. We can check back on Friday at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. But a game of substance. You've had Boulder, you had Minneapolis. Now you get to see where your team is at after 4 games, heading into that 5th against number 2 in the country, your college football playoff participant the last 2 years, your 2-time defending Big Ten champs, capital B with the barometer here, and 2 programs at different spots. We'll dive into Nebraska, Michigan. Incredible guests all week as we line you up for what should be, well, it should be an electric Saturday. It has not been electric Saturdays the last couple, and you as a Nebraska fan are okay with the wins. You're excited about the wins, but it's been a little bit tough to watch. But you'll trade the the carnage in front of your eyes at times offensively for wins. It's better than the alternative. Great to be with you. Can dial us up at 489-1240, 489-1240, or 800-825-5865. Toll free across the Hail Varsity Radio Network. Can watch the show. Invited to stream us. The Hail Varsity YouTube channel, Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio. Give Elijah a follow at Herbalescence. Send him your condolences for his Denver Broncos yesterday.
Don't do that. Do that. It only makes it feel worse.
Can find me at Schmidt_radio. So we'll spend time in hour 2 with Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie, and get Coach's thoughts on Nebraska, Michigan, what he liked from Louisiana Tech. And yes, Jay Moore from Big Red Wrap-Up. Jay will join us. Jay will be with us in hour 2 as well. Get his take on the NFL, get his take on Nebraska, Michigan, and what he foresees this football program becoming, Michigan and beyond. Really, that's it. Couple of questions to dive into. We'll get there. But weekend, Elijah, all right. Were you in the fetal position much of noon and beyond? Not from McCormick's vodka, but more so from just what you had to endure as a Donkey fan.
I had a great weekend.
I'll get off of Denver in a minute. I got to ask you.
Great weekend up until about 1 o'clock on Sunday. So I'm wearing, for those watching the stream, they can see I'm wearing my favorite Tottenham Hotspur jersey. For the soccer people out there, we briefly discussed it. Big game against Arsenal. Tottenham won by getting a tie. If you want me to elaborate further, I can. That's kind of how soccer goes. You're away from home. A tie is a win, kind of. So it was a good performance. They get that. I feel good about the Broncos. Jalen Waddle's out. And then the game starts and the defense is Swiss cheese, and you could kind of see a result like that coming. Maybe not 70 points. I don't think anyone sees a result of your defense allowing 70 points ever. So that was tough. But the worst part was kind of as you laid out, the people sending their condolences. I had people who support teams that have never, ever in their entire history won a Super Bowl, and they're reaching out saying they feel bad for me yesterday. And that's the one that hurt. You're a Lions fan. You're a Vikings fan. Even Chiefs fans are reaching out saying you feel bad. I go,
Lions fan said, I'm sorry for you. May God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it was. The Broncos allowed 70 points. They lost by 50. No one's put up that many yards of offense since 1951. It was historically bad, the performance. And whenever you have people from other fan bases reaching out, even Chiefs fans, who I tend to butt heads with because of my Broncos fandom, they're reaching out and saying they feel bad about me. That hurts worse. That's like the team you're playing have a chance to set an NFL record and they take a knee in field goal range instead. honestly, that's more disrespectful than kicking the field goal. That Broncos defensive performance yesterday was so bad, it deserved to be in the NFL record books, because every single member of that defense yesterday deserved to be reminded for the rest of their life that you're an NFL record holder because of how bad you were. That's what that Broncos defense deserved yesterday. And Mike McDaniel, he decides to take the knee after you've already hung 70. You've already disrespected them. You've already embarrassed them.
They disrespected themselves.
If they didn't have enough pride to not have it be a historically bad NFL performance defensively, your starters would have stopped the backups before they reached 70 points. If they didn't want to do that, you deserve to be in the NFL record books for all eternity. And I wish that every single member of that Broncos defense would be reminded in that way that, hey, you were part of the defense that gave up more points than any other defense in NFL history for the rest of their lives. That's what that Broncos defense deserved yesterday. They're not going to get it. That's Mike McDaniel being respectfully disrespectful to the Broncos. And I've got my 2 cents in about the Broncos.
You know what's hilarious about yesterday from a unbiased observer? Denver gave up 70 yesterday. They scored 69 points all of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a guy that's paid money to go see a Donks game with the pharmacist Jeff from time to time. I'm not a diehard Donkey fan, but I like going to an NFL game with him. He's probably broke lots of things in his man cave. But I admire you. You didn't show up with a Denver jersey on. Good for you.
Oh no, that's not getting pulled out the rest of the year.
But you're still claiming them.
I will still claim them. The one thing that I will say is I thought that was a fireable offense from Vance Joseph's point of view, the defensive coordinator. The
How many times can you fire the same guy with the same team? Why do you rehire him?
Yeah, why did you rehire him? That's a great question, Schmidt, and a question a lot of Broncos fans were asking themselves this offseason.
I like Vance.
And the thing was it's not like he inherited a bad defense. They lost a couple guys, but you add Frank Clark. You have one of the best corners in the NFL who was terrible yesterday, Pat Surtain. You're not exempt from this rant that I just went on. But that was a defense that was top 3 in the NFL last year in terms of scoring, in terms of yardage allowed. That defense was top 3, and now it's the worst in the NFL. And I think there's some blame that goes to the players, but those players gave up on their coaching staff and gave up on their teammates yesterday. And I think you have to look at the guy who runs the whole show and ask why. And that's Vance Joseph. I know it's only been 3 games as defensive coordinator, but you've clearly shown you're not cut out for the task. I don't think he should have a job today. He still does. Maybe the off day today will give Sean Payton more time to decide how he wants to fire Vance Joseph, but I don't think Vance Joseph should be coaching for the Broncos any longer. He failed the first time around. He's failed again. Get him out.
It's not exactly a warm reception to the Sean Payton era for Denver. Sean's a drill sergeant. He's tough to play for a lot of guys. And it's also a situation where you still have Russ at quarterback, and he may end up ending Russ before it's all said and done. Stay tuned.
His post-game press yesterday was 3 minutes long, and you could just see the fury in his eyes following that game. He was pissed. He wasn't pissed at the Dolphins. He was pissed at his own team. And I mean, he's I think he put up 63 points in an NFL game one time. I think it was 63-14. So he's done it before. He's been on the other side. I don't think he's ever been embarrassed like that, and that dude was justifiably angry yesterday.
He was. We'll get to Nebraska here. Cutter gets us kicked off. Do we feel like Nebraska played this last game on defense pretty vanilla to not give away any game plan for Michigan? Felt like that to me. Defense did not tackle as well as they have in past games. Here's what I thought, and I think we kind of all see it. You were just flat on Saturday for Nebraska. You were flat on offense. You were flat on defense. And just what Louisiana Tech wanted to do is be quick. Be quick. They had a quarterback that's got some accuracy issues and got a little bit too hyped up and missed some throws. But I don't disagree with you, Cutter. Nebraska didn't do anything except kind of play their base, and that's saying something. That their base is still pretty intricate with the system they run. I think they got better at tackling. I think they got challenged at halftime. They started tackling better. I mean, Louisiana Tech's got some athletes in space. Nebraska still did well against the run. And no, they had to kind of get into it. And I can't tell you why, other than I think you're seeing some grading going on. Grading as in offensively, you're not even halfway through the season. You're a problem from a consistency standpoint, and you just don't know how many points you're going to get. And again, it started that way for Nebraska on offense. And if you're the defense, yet you're a team, you're supposed to have each other's back. But it was just one of those ho-hum. And quite honestly, they're 18 to 22 years old. What were you really? I'm not yelling at you, Cutter. I'm saying you as a Nebraska fan, were you that geeked up about the game?
Well, Schmidt, you were there. Was the crowd lively?
No, the juice has not been unveiled for Nebraska football yet. For a home game, it's not been cranked up. I don't know that it gets cranked up.
Oh, Schmidt done hit you hit the same thing I did during our post-game show on Saturday.
I turned myself off and people rejoice. No, there was no juice last Saturday and then the previous Saturday because this team came back 0-2. And the fans don't know what to make. And I'm not scolding. I don't care how you feel. What I mean by that is you can feel how you want with this team. You want them to win. They're tough to watch on offense. They're fun to watch on defense. And this Saturday is what you're looking forward to. And if you're this team, you're not going to overlook Louisiana Tech, but Michigan's in the back of your mind. Either the excitement about the opportunity or the, oh, God, here comes Michigan, and this is going to get real ugly. So, yeah, I thought there was some disinterest, and it's disinterest all around. I think Rule's job is going to be fairly easy this week as far as getting his team fired up to play. If you've got a team full of competitors, it's not going to be easy at all because you had 4 quarters to face Michigan on the other side of the coin. So I don't disagree with you that it was basic, it was vanilla, and just go hit and tackle and get after the quarterback. So I don't think they purposefully saved anything, but don't kid yourself. There's going to be new wrinkles offensively and defensively for this Saturday.
Well, I think it's a combination of factors. What we saw from the defense, they came out flat, which we kind of laid out. The fans weren't that into the game. It was a gloomy Saturday in Lincoln.
It was rainy. Yeah.
It was rainy.
I'm not making excuses. It just if you've gone to a Nebraska game, Elijah, the fans, bless their heart, because you showed up for another sellout. But the last 2 opponents, you really don't give a damn about.
No.
And you're 0-2 coming in, so there's less excitement. And you're wondering and asking yourself, how long of a season's this going to be? Mm-hmm. How much are the growing pains going to hurt in year 1? At least you're 2-2.
Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of the reason for the flatness. But I do think Nebraska's defense was a little vanilla, not because they're trying to hide anything from Michigan. That's not why. It's because you look at Louisiana Tech's offense. It's a lot of 3-step drops,
it's quick
passing games, and then they're going to try to get their ball to the ball to playmakers in space so a guy like Smoke Harris can make you miss and turn a 5-yard gain into a 15-yard gain. So if you're doing 3-step drops from the gun and getting it out quick to Smoke Harris, what's the point of bringing 6 or 7?
You're not going to get there.
You're not going to get there whenever their passing game is from 0 to 5 yards and they're going to get the ball out quick. It's more advantageous to sit back a little bit, rally to the football so they can't turn those 5-yard gains into 15-yard gains. And that's kind of how the game plan played out. And the tackling wasn't great. That I attribute to just being a little bit flat. Mm-hmm. And hey, Louisiana Tech, to their credit, they had some guys with some athleticism on the outside.
I think
some guys that had a little make you miss. And it was better for you to get burnt for 5 to 6 yards by that passing attack than to blitz, not get to the quarterback, and that 5-yard gain turns into 15, 20, and now Louisiana Tech's in scoring territory.
Because you're down to 2 defenders that you may have sent on the blitz, and I'll say Nebraska in the second half had 3 to 4 guys around the ball carrier. Juan Camacho chimes in, until we have a quarterback that can throw a good deep ball, we won't be able to win big games. Being one-dimensional isn't going to work. There is a sad reality to that statement. And Juan, that's what a lot of Nebraska fans are feeling. On one hand, you're happy that you ran for 300 yards. on one hand, you're happy as a Nebraska fan that you came out and you went 9 plays, 85 yards, and you had a tone-setting third-quarter drive of just toss power and let the O-line and the running game do their thing. And you see option, and there are some things that Haarberg does really well. He's still a work in progress, as is a lot of the quarterbacks throwing the football. But you are absolutely undermanned with what you want to do on offense. That leads us into our topic we'll get into here with Nebraska. When it comes to the Nebraska offense, 489-1240, do you think they're lost or do you think they're limited? I mean, what's the reason for being able to squeeze very few drops out of the orange?
Well,
is it because they're lost or is it because they're limited? We'll dive into that, further discussion, and more thoughts on the defense because it is report card time where you've had some quizzes. You've had a midterm now that's on the horizon. What is this defense? They're fun. They tackle. They hustle. They're deep. But are they able to stand up against what they're going to see Saturday in Michigan? Hail Varsity rolls forward on a Monday, 489-1240.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. It's Hail Varsity Radio, 489-1240, 489-1240. Can get the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, downloaded that way, or the video, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel with Nebraska football. And the offense, is it lost or is it limited? Let's talk about the first play from scrimmage against Louisiana Tech. And that's one you circle as a Nebraska fan, and you're going, okay, what was that? And it was a breakdown in pass protection. It was a sack where Haarberg almost got his head ripped off. Could have been a turnover. It was 2nd and 17 to start your drive. And what was the play call? Dialed up a play action pass. They were trying to go deep. So let's play the game, lost or limited. And you can make an argument, Elijah. What are you doing against a team that is undermanned and outweighed up front? Why aren't you running the damn ball out of the gate if you're Nebraska football? Or if you're someone who liked the play action pass, to Camacho's comment, Nebraska's going to have to throw the ball deep to get some wins this season. Don't disagree. You need to, at some point, throw the ball to set up your run against stout defenses like the one you're going to see on Saturday. You are limited because of what you have in pass protection when it comes to those slow developing play action opportunities. You can say both and be right, and you can, I'm going to lean a little bit more lost than limited. I think there's an offensive coordinator in Satterfield who has a certain want with what he wants to call offensively, and I think eventually he settles in with what they can do. And he thinks, okay, Nebraska can line up and run the football. Let's do power toss left, power toss right, quarterback option, and keep, and there you go. You had a lot of explosive plays in the run game. I just think they're lost a little bit with not being able to execute some of the things he calls right away. Offensive coordinators are going to get hammered when things blow up in their face, be it a reverse to Tommy Hill 2 games ago inside the 10, or you're going deep against Minnesota to start the fourth quarter if you're supposed to be this grinded-out fourth quarter team. People are keeping score with the offensive coordinator, and I don't disagree with that. I think there's plenty of time for things to get righted. There's plenty of time for the offense to get better. People are asking, where the hell is Teddy P? Where's Teddy P? Because that makes your offensive line better. Because there's a lot of questions also, Elijah, with what's going on at left tackle, what's going on when it comes to the right guard spot at times, happening with your passing game. And Nebraska's just scary in a bad way right now with what they're not able to do consistently. It's not that you can't call a pass play or call play action. You need to. But right now, I think Sat's just dialing up stuff that he knows needs to work in a ball game. And a lot of times it's blowing up in his face because their execution isn't there and the defense makes a play. And you're playing with fire. You can't just line up and pitch it to Bo Jackson and Tecmo. That's the end of the discussion. But when I ask the question about the offense, is it lost or limited, they're still a little bit lost with immediately going into a game plan and a play call and a series. Push comes to shove. You're tied at 7 at half. You get the football in the third quarter. What does Nebraska do? They weren't lost. They had enough screwing around. 9 plays, 85 yards, all on the ground. Touchdown. Breathing room. And a little bit of a flex. I don't know that they can do that Saturday, but maybe they try it instead of dropping back to go deep for a shot play out of the gate. But there's also a lot of argument here for how limited Nebraska is.
Yeah, and this kind of brings me back to a quote you always see middle-aged women posting up on Facebook. Not all who wander are lost. Guarantee you've seen that quote around. I think it's originally a Lord of the Rings quote, actually. But I digress. Nebraska's offense is wandering right now. They're still trying to figure out what they do well. Are they lost?
And good luck finding that out.
I think we're going to have a much better idea of how lost they are whenever you go play a team like Illinois. That is going to be a much better indicator than against Louisiana Tech or against Michigan. Because what were we talking about last week? And Matt Rule didn't want to say it, but we were willing to say it on our show. That was your last chance at a tune-up game if you're Nebraska. And I think there's a reason why there's a difference in philosophy between the first half and the second half, because I think in the first half, you wanted to be able to get some things on film that you can go discuss next week as you lead up to Michigan. You're going to try to iron some kinks out. You're going to try to throw the ball around a little bit more. You're going to try to develop that deep passing attack. You're going to do those things so they're on film, not for Michigan, but for yourself against an actual opponent. We can go back and we can go hit the film room next week. And I say we as if I was a Husker coach. I mean, that's why you're doing this in the game. You want to make sure you can go back and see those things on film next week. You can hammer out some of those issues in practice. So instead of it being against Michigan, whenever you're down by 10, you need a passing attack. That's when the mistakes are happening. You do it against Louisiana Tech in the first half because you know that based on what you saw against Northern Illinois and some of the run plays that you got in the first half, you have some bread and butter that you can fall back upon in the second half whenever it's close and you need to get some points on the board. Nebraska had that. They had that series with Teddy Prohaska, who comes in as the extra offensive lineman, and they're just running power. They're pulling around Ethan Piper, who's really shown over the past couple of weeks that is the strong suit of his game. That's the reason why he's not going to get replaced. What do you mean?
They're running right.
Oh, they're running right. And the big thing with that is they're bringing in Prohaska as the extra tight end / extra offensive lineman on that side, if you will. And they're pulling Ethan Piper on because Ethan Piper has shown over the past couple weeks he's Nebraska's best offensive lineman in space, getting out and blocking a linebacker or getting out and blocking a defensive back. He moves his feet very well. So you're going to pull him around. You bring in Prohaska as the extra offensive lineman because him next to Benhart, next to whoever the tight end is getting a serious amount of push. I think you found some bread and butter plays for you that work. Same way that we saw how well the option worked with Harburg and Grant this weekend. They didn't go back to it too much, but just about every single time they called it, you picked up a chunk amount of yardage.
Or it was called back.
Yeah, or it was called back based on holding. One of which you definitely could have had 2 on Marcus Washington and on Billy Kemp. Both of them held. I digress. All I'm saying is I think Nebraska has found some elements of their offense that can be their identity, that they can fall back upon when the going gets tough later in the season. But you still need a passing attack if you want to be able to go up against the likes of Michigan or up against the likes of Wisconsin with what their offense is this year, a little bit more high-powered. You're going to need to have a passing attack, and Louisiana Tech was your chance to hammer out some of those issues that you've seen over the past couple weeks. You get it on film. You get another week of work before it's, oh no, here's Michigan.
So
now we have to throw the ball.
You side with limited? They're just limited versus lost?
I side with, yes, that they're limited. They're wandering right now, but it's not because they're lost. It's because you're trying to figure out what you do well, which I guess you could call loss, but I don't think it is. I still think you have some things you can fall back upon. And Nebraska didn't struggle in the first half against Louisiana Tech because they're that bad and Louisiana Tech's that good of a defense. I think it's because you were trying to get a little bit creative and find some other backup plans so it's not just the 2 or 3 plays that you know work well.
Work on what you need to work on. And that was a comment here by Cutter, says Nebraska was never in danger of losing that game. They wanted to try and use this game to get the passing going. Yep. Obviously, it didn't work. But another comment in, the offense is limited. Run left, run right, won't work against real competition. We need Jeff to figure this TO issue out. This could be a priority one for the coaches. And when we talk about what does Nebraska do well on offense, well, they've embraced their throwback tribute to the option. Love it. I absolutely love it, but you've had a couple of quarterbacks not finish games because it's going to take a toll with the mobile quarterback, with a running quarterback. Like the fact they kept feeding Grant and let him pick a hole with that toss power. I like what Elijah said with how they use Teddy and they pull Ethan. I think that's good. And they have receivers who got flagged a couple of times, but they have wide receivers that are really good at blocking.
They're willing blockers.
Well, they're good blockers.
You said really good. They're good, and there's willing, which is more than you can say about years past.
Sure, fine, good take. But that's what you're asking them to do. Mm-hmm. Are you asking them to beat coverage that they may or may not be able to beat consistently, or are you asking them to get downfield and beat the hell out of somebody? And they're like you said, willingly doing that. You've got Fedoni that you can use. I think Washington's somebody that you can look to get involved. You've got Bullock and you got Billy. So that's what you are. They are very, very limited. And that kind of goes into the buzz or maybe lack of buzz with Michigan this week. It's more of a fear. You're feared that you're going to get drilled at home by the number 2 team in the country because you're just not very good or good enough to be competitive on offense. We'll see what happens. You play the game for a reason, and the defense will be juiced up. They'll be ready to go. Here's the other question I have. As we'll hear from Dr. Lou and Ohio State and the angst that was college football this weekend. What has Nebraska's defense done for the offense in preparation? Could we actually see Nebraska's offense perform okay against Michigan because they've had a lot of reps, Elijah, against the one unit or the co-one unit leading up to Saturday's game? I mean, that's the other question I have with Nebraska's defense. How good is it? Are they fun? Are they talented? Are they hustling? Do they tackle well? They tackle about as well as anybody in college football, and I'll say that. Not their best first half on Saturday, but overall they've been damn good. And we'll know how to really rank them. And if they are as good as advertised with that 1.6 yards per carry allowed. And that isn't going to be the case. They aren't going to reenact Michigan State 2021. But they could be maybe some of the best Michigan has seen. I just fear that you're going to see a little bit like Colorado all over again, where defense does everything in their power except physically score or goes and plays offense. They're going to do everything in their power to keep this team in it, and they're not going to get any help. I think that's the worry right now for Nebraska fans. You're going to show up. You're going to scream your head off. You're excited that number 2's coming to town. But it's a different – there was kind of a carnival-like opportunity atmosphere 2 years ago for that night game because you had a threatening offense. Now, Michigan still went for 250 on you running the football, but you had a counterpunch. Right now, it's just one jab, and that's your defense. Hail Varsity continues on a Monday, 489-1240.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point at you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
We'll hear some thoughts from Matt Rule. Can catch the stream, Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio, 489-1240. Lost or limited? Where do you side on the offense? Andy chimes in. Will the Tommy Hill deep pass experience stop this week? Matt Rule doesn't sound like he will stop it. He loves him some Tommy. We'll hear from Matt Rule in a moment. Phil says the talent's limited. The O-line is somehow worse at times than last year. No speed at receiver like Palmer. Limited depth at running back. And I can hear that argument. Yeah, I would say it is limited. But I just think you if you're the offensive coordinator, you see what you have. And then you adjust accordingly. And they have in some instances. Power football, option football, and some play action. You just don't have the consistency. Nebraska throwing the football is not thrown for over 200 yards yet this year.
No. They've only really come close once.
So, Kinda.
Yeah, no.
So you stop throwing altogether? Do you go wishbone 85 Sooners? You can't and win with this offensive line. What do you believe? Do you believe that you see more Teddy this week, or do you see Teddy in special situations? Because we're waiting on Reimer. What's his health status like? We'll hear from Rule in a minute on the health. But Teddy, if he's good to go, is because did he get hurt against Northwestern in 21?
In 21, yeah.
Okay.
And then in 22, was it against Oklahoma?
No, he got hurt against Michigan.
Okay. But he missed he did miss all of spring ball in the spring. Missed almost the entirety of fall camp. Now, I think there is the element of getting back into football shape, being comfortable with the offense, being comfortable with the ones. I think the coaching staff, though, will most likely know the importance of having Teddy starting this week. I think the coaching staff will do everything in their power to make sure he's going to be a go on Saturday. And he's listed at number 2 on the depth chart currently. What I know about that depth chart that we've seen so far is it's not the be-all, end-all in terms of who is going to start and who is going to play on Saturday. So with that in mind, I think there will be a serious push to get Teddy starting next week. He'll at least get more playtime than he did last week. I think he's coming well in that extra offensive lineman role. But my
it's up to him and the coaches, and he's got to be ready, and he's got to be comfortable. And I think it's been killing him to not go, and you don't want to throw him out against this team if there's still some doubt with how much he can do. Now, 9 plays and a few more plays last week against Louisiana Tech. But he's a difference maker. You need him, and that whole lost versus limited, he helps make you less limited with what you want to do offensively. He was on the horn.
We go to Chris.
Chris, thanks for calling. Go for it.
Hey, Schmitty. Questions, because I honestly don't know. Where's the development of Malachi Coleman? How come he's not seeing the field more on offense?
Well, I think there's you got to be ready. You got to be able to help out in different, and I'm not making excuses. This is my take on it. I think they're very intent on making sure guys can do all that they're asked versus giving somebody a pass to get on the field and run 4 or 5 plays. I think that's their standard there with letting freshmen play. And the other side of it, you've got guys that Malachi played his junior season at East, was awesome, was dinged up as a senior, and he's also a track guy. You've got a bunch of track dudes that they've recruited that still need some time. I think there's still some rawness. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't tell him to run real fast in a straight line and throw him a deep ball to help take the top off the defense, but I think their philosophy is, all right, do you know everything you need to know, and can you help the team in more ways than just catching the football?
So is the phase that he's lacking, is it the blocking part of it, or is it the route running part of it?
I don't know. I don't know, and I didn't ask Rule that just because you've seen Malachi come in a little bit, but he's not been targeted. And from a route running standpoint, I mean, is he your outside guy? Do you put him in the slot? Is he a third receiver? I think they're asking the receivers to know all three positions.
Yeah. Okay.
But
that's fair. I hadn't heard or seen anything else, so I wanted to get your take. So
no, they're just going real slow with what freshmen they throw in.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. But also, I mean, as far as positions on the field where a true freshman can act, what a wide receiver is probably the most promising thing, where you get a grasp of the playbook and you can do some of the things asked. Like, let's get them on the field so we can try to win some games here. I understand you want to do it your way, but my goodness, it just seems that we're lacking there, and that he might plug a hole. But that's just my take, man.
Nope, I appreciate it. That's a fair take. Get your athletes on the field and let them play ball.
One thing I'll say, during this phone call, I've been trying to pull it up. I don't have a Pro Football Focus subscription. I'll take the L on that one. I've been trying to pull up the Nebraska offensive snap counts for that game against Louisiana Tech, because it felt to me, my own eye test, I felt like I saw Malachi a hell of a lot more on Saturday than they did in other games. It didn't lead to any targets. Still no catches for Coleman. I thought I saw him on the field just a little bit more, but again, I don't have the snap counts pull up in front of me, so I don't have the raw statistics.
You're also juggling the redshirt opportunity with also getting some playing time.
Malachi, he's going to burn the red shirt. He's already played in 3 games this year, hasn't he? 4. He's played in 4. He hasn't gotten a target.
Is there a total snap count?
You're allowed to play in 4 games.
Just 4. Whether you get in once or 14 plays or whatever it is.
I think he's already played in all 4 games. So I think that's kind of off the table.
So
the guy to watch is...
Throw him the damn ball.
Well, there's an element of getting a guy ready enough to get on the field, and is that guy ready to create separation against Division I defensive backs and get open? Because I think you thought the hope is that, well, you can teach anyone to run a fly or a post or a flag, but Tommy Hill, clearly from the snaps we've seen from him, is the guy the coaching staff feels is the most likely able to take the top off a defense. So then what else in that route tree is Malachi going to be able to do as a freshman? That route running aspect, going from high school to college, especially a guy in Coleman that really utilized, from what we saw, Schmidt, we covered a lot of his games, really used that otherworldly athleticism and speed to get open, be able to out-jump people, won a lot of jump balls for Lincoln East. He's playing defensive end too. There was an adjustment period for him to get to college, and that's usually the route running is where you see the biggest change in a guy from high school to college at that level. And if you already have a guy in Tommy Hill that you feel comfortable being able to run posts and goes, it limits the opportunities of a guy like Coleman. So I think there's the element of a guy being ready to get on the field, and then how ready is he to actually be able to get separation against Division I defensive backs. So
5 snaps from Malachi Coleman.
Only 5? Felt like more than that.
5 snaps for one Malachi Coleman. Yeah, the Tommy Hill experience, I mean, if he can make a play, Saturday, if you're a Nebraska fan, would be a good day to circle that, because he's been open, and he's a twitch athlete that Rule loves. We'll wind down this first hour. Coach McBride's on the way. It's Hail Varsity Radio.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Charlie McBride, what does Uncle Charlie say about Nebraska, Michigan? Find out. Hour 2 with Hail Varsity Radio. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and can find the show on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives. It prevents injuries. Only if properly worn. Buckle up. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. So the game of the year, not score-wise, but drama-wise, was Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Well, you had a couple candidates for game of the week or game of the year this past weekend, and then you compare that to Nebraska's game, which was seemingly boring all the way through.
And listen, today,
weird dichotomy.
Today's excitement level and juice about the upcoming opportunities, totally a 180 if Nebraska goes out there and wins 42-10. You struggled, you're hard to watch on offense, and it was lackluster. So there's Saturday, and maybe by Wednesday or Thursday, you'll be fired up for the opportunity, but there's more, oh God, don't embarrass us again, Michigan. 34-3 last year. What did Ryan Day think of Lou Holtz? His cameos during the week. Ryan Day, well, made it personal.
I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
What did they prove to you tonight in this victory that you'll take away and run with?
Toughness.
Okay, you've looked soft twice against Michigan. Okay, you have. That's how they won. Not sexy. What did Lou say?
Notre Dame is a better football team than Ohio State.
Love hearing that. Please, Coach.
And let me tell you why. We have the best offensive line in the country. Sam Hartman won't even get his jersey dirty all year. He has time to throw the football. The offensive line, we have great running back. Esteem is averaging about 10 yards a carry. We have great receivers. So offensively, we're set. Defensively, our defensive line's better. And you look at Coach Day, and I coached at Ohio State under Woody Hayes. We won the national championship when I was there.
That's right.
So I'm proud of that. However, he has lost to Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Michigan twice. And everybody that beats him does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame will take that same approach. I know that our schedule it hasn't been the best. We're 103rd in strength of schedule. However, that doesn't bother me because every day we get to practice against good. We get to practice covering our good receivers. Won't be much different than covering the great receiver they have at Ohio State. And plus, we're playing at home. It'll be a close football game, but we will win because we believe. Forget who in the hell we're playing. Just tell Ohio State this. You take this message to Ohio State. You tell them they better bring their lunch because it's going to be a full damn day's work.
There's Dr. Lou. We don't have time for fake Lou, do we?
No, we don't.
Yeah. Fake Lou claims that Ohio State cheated. We'll play some fake Lou for you before we say goodbye. What's Mr. Blackshirt say? Charlie McBride's next hour 2 on the way with Hail Varsity Radio.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back with you, it's hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. The Blackshirt Hour commences. Mr. Blackshirt himself. A Monday with Charlie, Coach Charlie McBride. Coach, it is Michigan week. How you doing?
Doing good. I haven't gotten any negative talk yet, so I'm doing good.
Well, you are in the land of Wolverines and Spartans, so good luck and God bless. We'll see how Saturday looks.
That sounds like the intro to some historical epic book. From the land of Wolverines and Spartans. That sounds like how you intro a character.
Well, we'll have to get our Morgan Freeman voice going. But Coach, I wanted to first start off with Saturday and kind of a ho-hum performance. You won, and that's not always been the case for Nebraska. They took control. They ran the football. They were physical. Defense got better in the second half. But what did you see on Saturday?
Well, I thought they improved. I think effort-wise, I think they did an excellent job. I mean, they're working at it, and that's what really counts. I think they got a team coming up that's going to be very well coached and very drilled and know exactly what's going on. But they have a tendency sometimes to just roll their hats on the field, and you can do something with them. Now, I sat and watched their quarterback and our quarterback and all. I mean, almost all day today.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, if I had to pick one, I'd take ours right now. But the other one's a little more advanced as far as things go, and he's got pretty good speed, but so does ours. And so, you're going to end up with a couple of good quarterbacks, but I think ours can change a game. That's one thing. And I think we got good running backs, but they have a couple of them. Mm-hmm. So, it's crazy how they operate. The thing that's going to be the difference is the offensive line and the defensive line, vice versa. Both of them, either side of the ball. Their pass rush scares me, and that's what I think about this week. Last week, I thought they did a great job. I think they did they did some things that weren't wonderful, and it was ugly. I mean, I've been in those games before. Those are the best ones. Because then when you get done, you don't know what to tell the kids because they won. It's like you went on the wrong side of this guy, but, you made the tackle. It's really it's kind of a thing that it's in their hearts. If they, like I said, if your mind and your heart are in the right place, your body will follow. That's just all I can tell you. And that's just the way football is. And we have the kind of kids that are athletic. I do worry a little bit about the left side of our, maybe not the guard. I mean, our left tackle has to do a better job of pass blocking. They can't give as much ground. And it may be that they're maybe, I don't know. That's there. I'm not there. I guess a baseball bat might help, and but that's where I put it. I think there's things you have to demand. In other words, a coach his job is to confront and demand, mm-hmm. and that's one thing you have to do. And I think there's just a point in time when there's got to be some things changing. If that's the case, then do it. And if not, I think that's one of the things right now that is kind of slowing us down offensively a little bit is there's a lot of penetration, and we've got to cut it out. And so how you do it, I don't have the film. I don't have anything, but, there's ways to do it, and I think that they're on the right track.
Charlie, what'd you make of Nebraska's use of the option on Saturday? I think that was really fun to see just based on, Nebraska's history and how well it worked out on Saturday. Do you think that can be something that you can fall back upon if you're this offense and you can increase how much you run the option? Because it did appear as though Louisiana Tech was woefully prepared to stop the option, but at the same time, it worked well, and you can see how well how comfortable Heiner Carber feels it.
Can you run the option against Michigan, Coach?
There you go. That's the million-dollar question.
Well, the thing is again, with a team like Michigan, we don't have a dive option type of thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I haven't seen a dive type of thing off of the option and then take it to the corner and read the end and it's all been speed option stuff.
Okay.
And that's not going to be effective. I don't think it's one way to stop that is just take your end once he sees the footwork of those guys just come straight up the field and then just shut it down. That's basically what you do. You're going to make the quarterback pitch it right now, and everybody in the world that's got speed will be jumping all over the pitch back. So, you have to get something. I think inside, and I'll tell you one thing: the fullback that transferred from Notre Dame mm-hmm. is one of the best blocking backs I've seen. I mean, if you look at him on film, he blocks everybody. Mm. and all the kick-out blocking and all that stuff, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's been well coached there, and he knows, or he's been well coached in high school, I'm sure, too. But because you don't just get it overnight. But he's a problem for their defense. And so even in plays like ISOs, and, one of the things is that I always looked at our offense sometimes is if you have an ISO, okay, you have an ISO pass, and you have an ISO option, and you have an ISO run type of thing. I mean, you end up not an ISO is not. It can look like one, but the run, the pass, the option, and the reverse, and things like that come off of that stuff. You have 3 or 4 plays that come off of one. And those are the things that, when you have young people and you're trying to teach just them to go in the right direction, it's hard. And you got a new staff. They're trying to figure out what guy does what best still. Still. And so that's where it goes. I mean, it's a hard thing to do. And each day in practice, you actually have to evaluate each player.
Charlie McBride's with us. Monday with Charlie. We're talking Nebraska and Michigan, 2:30 Saturday, Fox. Number 2 comes to town. Big game. And I think we're all in agreement that it's a tough task for the offense. But, Coach, I want to talk defense with what you've seen from Michigan and what you think the Nebraska defense can do to complicate what Michigan wants to do.
Well, they're going to want to run the football, but they're going to try. They're going to go 50-50 on you. I think that's what they're going to see what works best. They're going to start out and find out where the holes are and where the stuff is, and they'll wear that out. Running the football, the key to that whole thing is in our nose. You're not moving him, and he's getting people shoved in the backfield. And, when you get a back, you have a cutback play, and the center's standing back there 2 yards with him, he can't cut back. and he has the ability to get off. So a lot of that has to do, the way they're playing their defense. It looks like, we can run against this. But you better be careful because, there's some good players up there, and I don't know that they realize maybe how good some of those guys are. And that may be an effect in early. But I think what you have to do is anytime you tackle a back, he needs to think the whole stadium fell on him.
So, Charlie,
that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah. Are you saying that if you were the defensive coordinator here going up against a team like Michigan, the game plan is blitzing? Do you want to get a lot of hats to the ball in that way, or is that going to open up too much potential disaster should they break through that first line and make it to second level? What would your game plan be against a team that likes to run the ball as much as Michigan does?
Well, I think, a lot of I don't know, but the thing is with a team like this, everything has to be correct. You have to play disciplined football, and you have to play 100%. If you make a mistake, keep trucking. Don't stop and go, I made a mistake. You just take the next guy and knock him on his, Or same thing with an offensive lineman. If he comes off the ball and his combo block's not working, where they're sliding off on the backer, take the next one. Because these backs are good. And so a lot of times I think it's a matter of, I didn't do a very good job, but I can do better. Well, that's not good enough, okay? Every play has to, I'm doing as hard as I can, and that's what I'm going to do. If we lose, the score takes care of itself. If we win, the score will take care of itself. But you just have to give it everything you got. You have to focus on every play. You can't be wandering around looking at the girls. So I don't think, that they're doing that. But, I'm just using that as a something to prop. I'm a prop setter.
Well,
that's what I tell them on the sideline. Who you looking at?
So you wouldn't be inviting Taylor Swift to this game if you were on the team?
Some guys will tell me the truth. That's the problem.
That's pretty good. I'm not looking at you. I like it.
But, the thing is I think that you have to really be disciplined, and you have to think about it all week. You have to think about being disciplined all week. You don't just think about it before the game. You have to do these things all week and focus every play in practice. If you make a mistake, okay, think about it. When you get done, think about what you did in practice. Think about these things. And if you're doing them wrong, think about doing them right. And you'd be surprised. That's like practicing off the field. And you get it in your subconscious so you can do things, you'd be surprised what guys can do. They'll scare themselves.
Charlie McBride's with us on Monday with Charlie, getting you geared up for Michigan, Nebraska. Coach, about 90 seconds. Do you approach this with a nothing to lose attitude, or or not?
I just look at. It's like, I can't use the words, but it's one of those things where you have to play the whole game. You can't come out in the second half like what we did last week, and they go run right down the field and score. Mm-hmm. You're asking for it, and when you do it with a good team like Michigan, you got to make it up. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. They're just going to keep pounding on you. And the thing is you have to come out with the same attitude you came out early. And I'll tell you what, we have the kind of players that can beat these guys. And I'll tell you what, if they get mentally, they're not really ready to do it right, they may be looking ahead. You never know what's going on. So you need to talk to them about all of these things. But I think the thing that's the key is how you practice. You got to focus. You got to you don't wander around. You every snap in practice, you have to do it and do it right and know exactly where the help's coming from. You have to know exactly. You have to take care of yourself so you don't get dumb penalties and things like that. So there's a lot of things to think about, but I think we got some young kids that are special.
Charlie, last thought here, about 30 seconds. It's a hypothetical question for you. Let's say your defense gave up 700 yards and 70 points on an outing. What would you tell that defense in the post-game locker room?
He's asking about his Broncos.
Oh, I don't know. I'd start digging. I tell you what, I don't know if I was the defensive coordinator. I say Mickey's brother. I feel sorry for him. You can laugh at some things, but when you're the guy that's basically responsible for it. I just think the only thing is a shovel and some dirt. Throw it over the top of you. Go hide out for a while.
Coach, you enjoy the weekend. Cheer for Nebraska, and we'll talk to you on Monday. Okay?
I'll do it. Okay. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you next week.
See you, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Okay, bye.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it, it's Hail Varsity Radio, Blackshirt Monday. Jay Moore with us from Big Red Wrap-Up at Jay Moore 44. You find him on Twitter, former Husker black-shirt-tanned NFLer. Jay Bird, another win. That's 2 in a row for Nebraska. 300 yards on the ground. That's a smile for a lot of Nebraska fans. And, oh, yeah, here comes Captain Khakis this Saturday.
Yes. Captain Khakis is on his way to Lincoln. No, again, it was not a pretty win. It was a game that I'm like, oh, boy. Parts of the game against Louisiana Tech, I was like, they could lose this thing. And they had some big plays called back with penalties. We had some big plays called back because of penalties. But I'm not going to – where we're at right now, I'm not going to complain. Obviously, there's things to work on and build on and get better at, but you're 2-2, and that's all you can ask for currently with this football team.
Jay, what did you like about Nebraska, and what are some concerns you still have as not only Saturday unfolds but beyond? Where can this team get better, and where do you think they are what they are?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you look at the offense first. They have some, again, pass protection has shown to be an issue, and whether it's weird. It's more kind of the slower play action. Mm-hmm. They seem to give up. There are guys. I just don't think the guys the front seven sometimes they're not respecting the run game. It just seems like they're just pinning their ears back and going. And maybe they guessed right and got lucky, but that aspect is a little concerning against a Louisiana Tech defense that they're just not that good, and they're able to get home a few times and make us look. We're average offense at best, but definitely made us look below average at some aspects during that game. So that was always concerned. But again, the ability to get some big chunk plays, win the run game. And I know a couple of them were called back because of a penalty, and one was definitely not a holding penalty at all on that Anthony Grant touchdown. I'm still not sure what the referee was looking at. But anywho, their ability to get some things going. And I think what I'll take away from this game, offensively and defensively, is there was a chance this thing could have slipped away from them. And it was like, oh man, you kind of just like, here we go again. A lesser opponent coming in here. We're a 3 touchdown, favorite, and they had a chance. But I look and I see this team kind of getting over that, and they're able to say, okay, yeah, they're hanging in here. Let's get some knockout punches, and they did that. And I think in years past, Nebraska easily could have lost, would have maybe have lost this football game. And I just didn't, obviously that didn't happen. I saw them just not kind of keep their composure and not panic, not freak out. And they made enough plays on defense. They made enough plays offensively to get this thing, get the W, get the, one more in the win column. And then you look, defensively too, tackling was probably not the best. But they ran some tempo. They spread you out a little bit, and they got some plays going and some momentum going. But again, they got off the field when they needed to. They make some plays when they needed to. Got a turnover when they needed to. So it wasn't clean. I don't think this team is going to be. It's never going to be clean this year. I think you just have to win ugly and just keep yourself in it. So through 4 games. That's I think just holding on for dear life and just making what you can of it offensively, and just hopefully your defense can continue to play well and keep you in ball games.
It's Jay Moore with us here talking Nebraska-Louisiana Tech. It's Hail Varsity Radio. And Jay, if you do want some positive signs take away from the game, I have a couple, and I want to get your take on them. The first being Nebraska came out flat against an FCS school, a directional school, if you will, that in years past, if Nebraska would have come out flat against a team of that ilk, they would have lost the football game at home, but they were able to rise through that and still get a pretty comfortable win in the end at 28-14. That was a sign of encouragement, I thought, moving forward, that Nebraska was able to overcome the fact that you come out and play pretty flat in the first and second quarter. Also, I think the offense has started to develop maybe not an identity, but at least some bread and butter plays that they can go to when they need a couple yards. The first being that triple option look, and Heinrich Haarberg maybe needs to pitch the ball a little bit more, but they were picking up some chunk yardage whenever they're running that triple option from under center. Also, there's a power to the right side where they're pulling Ethan Piper around. They've been bringing in Teddy Prohaska as an extra offensive lineman on that side, caving down the line of scrimmage, and here comes Ethan Piper pulling through and cleaning stuff up. It feels like the Nebraska offense might have some plays that they can come back to and return to it in terms of just being plays that you're comfortable with to pick you up some yardage and be your bread and butter plays, if you will. Do you see those same signs of maybe optimism that I saw from Saturday?
Oh, most definitely. I just chatted about that, just previously. That game definitely felt like a game in years past that you start off flat, you give an opponent like that momentum, you give them some breathing room, and they're going to take advantage of it. But Nebraska just came out, and when they need to make a play and kind of seize the momentum, they did that. So I think that's something to take from, and I think that shows the maturity of this team, especially defensively, that when a play is needed to get made, they did. Now, getting in the Big Ten play, I don't know if it's going to be that easy to say, hey, we got to, or you got to play in your back pocket that you can dial up and just say, hey, we're going to call this, but we can get 15, 20, 30 yards out of it. I don't know if that's going to be the case. But yeah, I think the run game, we've seen it. The power of the runs to the right side and the options with Haarberg, those have been really good play calls so far through 2 games. And for sure, this week they're playing the best defense they've seen so far this season. That is not even up for question. So let's, are those, we'll still see that they'll say sample of plays, but to what degree, right? Or we have to get a little more creative. I don't know. This heading into Michigan, things are. Tell you what, it's a really good football team, and offensively, I don't know if we have the ability to get super creative, because I just don't know if we have the weapons to do so. Can we line up by them and run the football? I don't know. I know we'll try because we have to. You don't have the ability to stretch the field. I think you got to establish the run and then utilize play action off of it. Hopefully you find Fedoni or Marcus Washington on the back end to give you some help. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a healthy dose of QB run game option, Anthony Grant, Emmett Johnson. Heck, you might even see some fullback use this week. I don't know. You're going to have to open up everything you have in the cabinet this week to hopefully get some momentum going offensively. But I think those 2 things you said, Elijah, I would definitely agree.
Jay Moore's with us, Blackshirt Husker NFLer at JMoore44, co-host Big Red Wrap-Up, Hail Varsity Radio. It's Blackshirt Monday. What is your thought at quarterback? Is Haarberg just kind of limited, or do you think he could keep growing and get better? I know he's only had 2 starts, but I'm saying, is he ever going to be a threat? Do you think he can be a threat career-wise as a passer, not just a runner?
I think so. He'll definitely get better in that aspect of it. It's hard because it's a chicken or the egg argument. Is he a bad thrower? Does he not have time to throw? And he has not that many weapons to throw to. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both. I think he's not as polished, and that's completely fine. I think is Sims a more polished thrower, probably, but still, he's taking care of the football. That being Haarberg, and that's what you have to do first and foremost to be a successful offense and be a successful football team. You got to take care of the football. You can't turn it over. I think if you can get him, I'm telling like a half a second. That's all a quarterback needs. You don't need a full extra second back. You just give him a little more time to let a play develop, or just have some more trust in that pocket and not be so antsy. That could pay off dividends for this offense as well. But again, he doesn't have a big. I'm talking a threat. Billy Kemp is a threat, right? But he's not a big body to throw to. Marcus Washington is a threat, but he's a bigger body, but he's not Trey Palmer, And I think Fedoni is a great option for him. They have history. They're good buddies, so I think you'll continue to see that relationship build, and lean on him. I think you should. Fedoni is a big target, athletic. He saw the run after catch he made on that touchdown. You got to use him, utilize him. You can, and hopefully, you got to make defenses respect him, and hopefully defenses will maybe put another guy on him, or just lean one way towards them, and that helps open up someone else. I don't know, but I don't think he's a bad thrower. I just think he needs some more time to develop and get comfortable in this offense and trust his offensive line and trust his weapons he had. It's just has only been 2 games, and if he continues to play, I think that trust and that relationship will continue to develop.
It's Jay Moore with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. And Jay, let's flip it around here and talk the Husker defense just a little bit. The Husker defense currently the number 1 among Power 5 schools in stopping the run at just 1.8 yards per rush thus far this season. And that's important with Michigan coming to town, how much they like running the football, and that rushing defense is going to be tested. What's your take through the first couple of games this season? Is that legit Nebraska's rushing defense, or have they just gone up against some teams that maybe aren't going to commit to the run as well as some other schools that Nebraska's going to face in the Big Ten this year?
Well, yeah, I don't think – I mean, Minnesota's not – I don't think it's the same Minnesota from the run game perspective. But still, we shut them down. And, Colorado-wise, they want to – take it to there and spread you out. And Northern Illinois, not the most potent run games either with Louisiana Tech. They weren't trying to run the ball. But that's just the thing is, to be a good defense, you have to always stop the run first. You got to make teams one-dimensional. You have to be able to get them in third and predictable for a defense, and that's probably 3rd 7+ to where it's probably obvious passing downs, and you can bring multiple looks, bring multiple pressures in that 3-3-5. To kind of confuse them, and whether it's a 0 pressure blitz or you're rushing 3 and bring them in, holding back 8. So they're good. They're really, really good. This defense is good in stopping the run. This defense, like I said, has been really good in space and tackling. If there's one weakness I've seen so far, it's probably in this last game. Tackling wasn't as great, but again, when you have a spread up tempo, and some good receivers as Louisiana Tech did, you're probably going to miss a couple tackles. But I tell you what, they did a good enough job. But they're going to get tested this week. You're going to see it. And the nice thing is what Michigan likes to do is a lot of what Nebraska likes to do too in practice with those pro-style 21 personnel, 22 personnel type of looks where they're going to get in there. And, man, it's just here it comes. And it's coming. Can you stop it? So it's going to be fun to see – that chess match going back to see, okay, through 4 games of this year, Nebraska is supposed to be one of the best in the country, if not the best. Now you're arguably playing one of the best running attacks in most physical teams in the nation. How you hold up. It's going to be fun to see, and it's going to be the best test so far of the season.
Definitely a measuring stick when it comes to if Nebraska, that's who they are, great against the run, or more so who they've played. Jay, let's get your take on Michigan. Are you optimistic? What's a win Saturday other than the obvious, an outright win, and Vegas doesn't think that's going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to be tough sledding. I just don't think this offense is going to be able to do enough unless some fluky things happen. We get touchdowns or block kicks or somehow on special teams. I just don't foresee – I'm not that optimistic. I think the defense can keep you into it. But I think the offense has got to be able to score in the 20s to keep Nebraska in this. I just don't foresee our offense being able to do that, to score 3 touchdowns or whatever it may be to make this – to give ourselves a chance. Michigan's defense is really, really good. I know Michigan hasn't played anybody yet this season either, but – they're going to see much better offenses, and I'm pretty sure they've seen better offenses than ours through their first 4 games as well. So, I honestly think this is this feels like a 31-10, 28-13 just type of ball game to me. I think again early on Nebraska has some opportunities, can't capitalize. I just don't think our offense can give us any chances. The only way we do have a chance to win this thing or win. Like I said, it's going to have to be some fluky stuff, a punt, kick return, punt returns, block kicks or somehow for touchdowns, or Michigan just turns the ball, turns it over a ton. And we, as good as the defense we've seen so far with Nebraska, they haven't done a great job of creating turnovers. So with that being said, I think it's going to be tough sled and almost a death by 1,000 paper cuts type of a game where it just nothing huge, no big plays. You're not getting gashed. It's just like, bam, Nebraska does a good job, but they punt it, they pin you down there, and Nebraska's offense not able to do much. They get Michigan's, good field position, you get touchdowns, you get field goals. Just kind of one of those slow, methodical, moving type of games where it just seems like Nebraska really never has a chance.
Jay, the theme in college football this year has seemingly been coaches finding a way for their team to be disrespected before they go play a big game. And I want to ask you, with Michigan coming to town, if you're in Matt Rule's shoes, do you find an angle of disrespect to hit on this week to give your team some extra motivation?
I'm sure he's looking. He probably won't make it public if he does find something. Coach Harbaugh's good, too. They're smart up there. They're not going to get bulletin board material. You don't want to do that. Yeah, but it seems like in every major game we've had so far this year, there's been a lot of bulletin board material. But it's hard because I just don't think that's sustainable, right? Always looking for that disrespect or they made it personal. Because sometimes making it personal it's going to wear out after a while, and you just got to have the maturity and the ability to attack every week the same way, no matter if they make it personal or not. I think that's what good football teams are able to do. But if they want to throw someone out there to wet our whistle a little bit, go be it. But I don't foresee that happening. Coach Harbaugh and he's a good coach, mature staff, and we're going to have to create our own energy and our own enthusiasm and our own motivation. You're playing number 2 team in the nation. you want to get respected. Hey, you go show out in the field at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. Otherwise, you get embarrassed. And again, it's just like, hey, this is just another rebuilding season for Nebraska and Matt Rule.
Jay, couple of thoughts with bulletin board. Anything ever stick in your mind, pro or college, that ticked you off or your teammates?
You know what? No, not really. And again, I'm dating myself and making myself sound older, but you honestly had to say something to a reporter and had to get it written up, to see it. Nowadays, with social media, a guy could post something and you can find it and read it and make that whatever it is. We didn't have that option. Even playing professionally, that stuff was few and far in between. I just don't remember ever having it or ever caring to pay attention to it. And I didn't need it personally. I never felt like I needed it. I had enough motivation to. I mean, I was wound so tight before games, and I was usually visiting the porcelain gods for the football game, the games, because I was so wound up. So I didn't need it. And that's honestly, I need to figure out how to calm myself down more before games. I didn't need any extra motivation. So times are different now.
Are you pacing around, slamming into lockers?
No, not that. I just was like, I was a guy, sitting by his locker, but just keyed in, and I would just get so nervous for games. I had to, I usually threw up, and then if I didn't throw up then, and a lot of times I'd throw up at halftime too. It just weird. I don't know. I know just how I was. And usually once the game started, I was fine. Mm-hmm. But it's almost that anticipation going up to that first play, that first series that. Just kind of not necessarily the fear of the unknown, but just, you just got to get in the flow of the game. Mm-hmm. And that's where I needed to be. And so I never needed any extra motivation. I just never did. I was one of those guys that I was always keyed in. And like I said, wound very, very tight heading into football games.
Jay, when you talk about that nervousness before the game, one guy who I'm sure was nervous before his game this weekend was Travis Kelce with Taylor Swift in attendance. I want to get your thoughts. Was there ever any moments that stand out in your playing career that you had a little extra nervousness because of who was in the stands?
Nope. No, I never had anything like that.
Any teammates that dated famous people?
Gosh, I think if I remember correctly, I think Vernon Davis, when I was at the 49ers, might have been dating like Serena Williams. Maybe. And I think that might have been a very short stint. I kind of vaguely remember that. But gosh, no, I can't think of any celebrity A-list type people coming to games. Yeah. And again, San Francisco, when I was at the 49ers, they weren't very good. I was with the Rams. We sure as hell weren't any good. I was with the Titans a little bit. I was never with them during the season. So, no, I can't I wish I had some fun stories to tell you boys, but I don't have. I can't think of any.
Who's your roommate?
I flew underneath the radar. What's that?
Your roommate was the middle linebacker. What's his name?
Yeah, Patrick Willis.
Patrick. I mean, he had options, didn't he?
Oh, he had plenty of options. Trust me. He had plenty of options. But no, I think he stayed. He didn't. I don't think he was into the whole celebrity dating type of thing. He had plenty of options, but it wasn't a whole lot of celebrities. That's the way he liked it. He liked to fly. He liked to be low key too, though.
Okay.
That's the way P. Willie like to go too. That's why him and I got along, very well. We both kind of were similar minded guys, but he has a few more zeros in his bank account now than I do too.
Well, last thought, 70 points by the Dolphins.
Oh, we had to go there?
Well, I didn't say against who. I didn't say against Elijah's Broncos.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to happen in the NFL?
No, it's not. It's not.
What kind of question is that, Schmitty?
It's not supposed to. I was watching the game, turned it, and then took a little nap, and then I got back up, and I looked at my phone, and I just getting updates on the scores, and I was like, I had to refresh it. I'm like, this can't be right. And I looked at the how it played out from all the touchdowns. I'm like, holy smokes, what is going on? Sorry, Elijah. You guys got what going on in Denver. It's hard to watch, man.
Hey.
Even I don't care how good a coach Sean Payton is. That's a mess going on in Denver right now.
Tanking for Caleb Williams. Next week, Bears Broncos. The loser gets Caleb Williams. It's gonna be okay.
He'll stay
he might
at
stay
USC.
in college another year.
Penix it is. There's options.
Yeah, I like Penix. Good call. Jay Bird, we'll talk next week. Thanks for a few minutes today.
Yep. Thanks, boys.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out, Hail Varsity Radio. Winding down a Monday. Great stuff from Coach McBride and Jay Moore, the Blackshirt Hour. And as always, make sure you get the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and watch the show as well, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel or the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Busy show. So Thursday we are on the road. We are at the Single Barrel from 4 to 6, downtown Lincoln, 9th and P. Friday, we are up in Omaha at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Yet again, excited for that. 4 to 6 Friday. Saturday, pregame, noon to 2 at the bar. The bar. 1644 P Street. Seth and Greg are awesome. They'll have us out Saturday, noon to 2. And then Real Red Reaction follows live from the bar, 1644P. It's Michigan week, and it could get crazy.
Well,
it could get fun, or it could just be a place where it's going to be fun and crazy and all those good things, but there could be a win on top of it.
See.
By Wednesday, you talk yourself into what happens if... ...
This is Michigan week, Schmitty, but
and
it
then
should
Kent
be noted.
emailed in 24.5 is what he got Michigan. He got Nebraska in 24.5 points last week. I want Kent's bookie.
Good luck.
Kidding.
Good luck. What I'll say
illegal.
here is this is Michigan week, but every week is a good week to go get yourself a Slinky from the bar.
Gotta love
as simple
them.
as that.
They're awesome folks. We love being out there. We'll be out there for Black Friday as well, which is cool. Okay, big thanks, Coach McBride. Big thanks, Jay Moore. Tomorrow on the show, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, fullback extraordinaire and former running backs coach for Jim Harbaugh, and arguably the best fullback in Nebraska football history, Tom Rathman, going to join us. So we'll talk Big Red. We'll talk Captain Khakis with Tom Rathman tomorrow.
We'll have to also talk how close the 49ers were to hanging 70 on the Broncos in the Super Bowl. Could they have done that?
That's fair to ask him. And we're going to talk with Lars Anderson. Lars, get his take on Nebraska-Michigan, get his take on how the world wrote off Bama last weekend, but more so some focus on Nebraska. Fake Lou Holtz. This was gold. This was on Twitter today.
It was not fair. The last play of the game, they only had 10 players on the field. Like, listen. If I'm Ryan Day and I'm the gentleman that I claim to be, I'm calling timeout so that they can get that 11th man on the field so it's a fair fight. But you know what? He knows that he couldn't win that game if it was a fair fight. And so we had 10 guys on the field, and they took advantage. You know, we were the more physical team the entire day. And then what did they do? They won the game because they cheated. They cheated. Touchdown Jesus would never do that.
Can we squeeze in fake Brian?
We're out of time, unfortunately.
Aye. Fake Brian Ferentz tomorrow. That was fake Lou Holtz.
Fake Lou Holtz. Should be noted.
Fake Lou Holtz.
The help of AI on that one.
Pretty good. You want to get real Lou Holtz on this week?
You want to try?
Reach out to him. That may not be, our listeners may revolt. Maybe next time. Tomorrow at 4. Talk to you then on Hail Varsity. Thank you for tuning in.